Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Today, my guest is David Christopher. Now, David is the co-founder of Big Wing Interactive, which is a digital marketing agency. It is on the Moz recommended list of SEO companies, and currently he's the director of marketing and growth at Tailwind. For those of you that don't know, Tailwind is here, David, why don't you share what Tailwind is, because we use it and we would be nowhere without it. So welcome.
Thank you, hi, yes. So Tailwind is a Pinterest and Instagram scheduling and analytics platform. And our mission is to make world-class marketing easy for everyone.
So we use Tailwind every day to schedule all of our pins, to watch our growth, to be strategic. And we've been using Tailwind for years now. So David, we met about a week ago at Social Media Marketing World. And it's a very big conference in San Diego. And David, you were my first friend. I was there, I was overwhelmed, and I met you, and you were like this breath of fresh air. So
I'm a 1 in 4,000 kind of guy.
Yes, you are. So the reason why I invited you on the show today is to talk about SEO. SEO, which means search engine optimization, which is how you put content out and Google finds that content, and then Google serves it up to people who are searching. And so for bloggers, I would say SEO, it just seems so abstract and difficult, and Google seems like this black box. And so I want us to really dig in on how, as a blogger who might not be very technical, how you as a blogger should start to think about SEO.
Yes, I think that's a great topic, Jillian, and I'm excited to talk about it. A lot of what I've been doing over the last many years is trying to make that specific topic more and more simple, both for myself, so that I can do better at it, and for other people who I work with, having run an SEO team and a team of content marketers and tried to sort of bridge that gap. I've put a lot of energy and thought into this, so I'm excited to kind of boil it down.
Great. And somehow SEO does not seem anywhere near as sexy as posting on Instagram.
No, it doesn't, does it?
And I know a lot of bloggers who therefore go, I'm not going to dig in there. I'm just going to work on my Instagram.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the truth is that there's a ton of traffic to be gotten from Google, and it's extremely and Bing to a much lesser extent. But there's a ton of traffic, and it's extremely motivated traffic as well, because this is traffic that has a specific question that it's turned to Google to get the answer to that question, and then Google has crawled the web, and it says, well, here are the 10 best answers to your question that exist on the web, and of course, if you're the first best answer to the question on the whole World Wide Web, then tons of traffic is going to come your way. And that traffic has already basically been validated that your article is awesome. So it's really a fantastic source of traffic, and those who are using it for traffic and getting traffic from it know that. And what I'd like to kind of talk about is that, really where does that start?
Yes.
How do you find your way in to SEO and to Google traffic? And the way that I find my way in is I think of Google, and I think of those people who are approaching Google, and what are they asking? The questions that they're asking that I can answer. It's as simple as that, really. And there are a few different ways to kind of come across an answer to that question. And the first is by instinct. If you don't want to even touch a tool, you can do good SEO without doing any research or anything like that, just through really thinking about the kinds of questions that you hear people ask in your space.
Okay.
Yeah, so it can really be as simple as that. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of people ask, for example, how much traffic Pinterest can send me. Because Facebook, traffic is going down because they're limiting the reach of businesses, and so people are turning to other networks, and Pinterest is one of the networks that's known for sending traffic. So, okay, so I know that people are asking that question. Do I really need to do keyword research to validate that? Not necessarily. I can just say, I believe that that's what people are searching for. And then the next question is, well, how are they searching for it? What words are they using? And the answer to that is, well, what words did they use when they asked you about that question? When you've heard that question posed, how do real people talk about this?
Okay, so let's say I am a food blogger.
Right.
And let's say I am a niche food blogger. So let's say I am a vegan food blogger.
Right.
So what I do is I sit in my kitchen and I come up with cool vegan recipes.
Yes. So you're sitting in your kitchen, you're coming up with cool vegan recipes, and you're thinking specifically about, vegan food, and you're thinking about, the kinds of things that people would be interested in. So it might be vegan chocolate desserts. It might be vegan bread and vegan this and that, all the different kinds of things that are popular, and the words that people use for them. So when you're thinking about your vegan chocolate cake, okay, you've been calling it a vegan chalky puff puff, okay, because kids love that, right?
Is that a British thing?
It's not. I just made it up. So, but it sounds frou-frou.
Yes, and fun.
Yes. So the Chalky Puff Puff, the vegan Chalky Puff Puff, right? When it comes time to write your recipe up and name it, you're not necessarily going to want to call it the vegan Chalky Puff Puff everywhere, because people won't be searching for that because you made that up, right? And until such times as this thing really takes off and everybody's talking about the vegan Chalky Puff Puff, nobody is searching for it. So when it comes to search, to SEO, and really for Pinterest too, because Pinterest is a search engine in many ways, you're going to want to use the words that people use. So you look at your vegan Chalky Puff Puff and you think, well, how would somebody describe this? And if the answer is it's a vegan chocolate cake, then you have to use those words for both the naming, the title of your recipe, and throughout your recipe. So one way in is okay, I want to make my vegan Chalky Puff Puff, and I want to put that out there, and so that's one way in. But the other way in is what are people really looking for right now? What are they really interested in? And that way you start with what's called keyword research.
Okay.
I already kind of talked to you about instinct, but there are other very simple ways to kind of give you a little bit more of a leg up.
But could you just very briefly describe what a keyword is?
Okay, yes, thank you, Jillian. Keep bringing me back to simple. I like that. Okay, so a keyword is simply a word that you have identified as being key to some kind of search intent. So somebody is searching for a thing. So for the let's say that your title for your recipe now is vegan chocolate cake, chocolate. I forgot what it was. Puff puff, right? Chalky puff puff. Chalky, delicious chalky puff puff. Okay. Now your keywords here are vegan chocolate cake, because those are the ones that people are going to search, okay, when they're looking for vegan chocolate cakes. Your chalky puff puff, that's more of sort of a branded term. That's just those aren't really keywords because nobody else will ever use them.
Got it.
So keywords really are words that have search intent behind them.
Got it.
So we've figured out some topics based on instinct, what we think people are looking for. But another great way in to finding new ideas for keywords and different plays on things is with a tool called Google Auto Suggest. And all that is you load up Google.com and you start typing the words that you think people are interested in. So if I was to load up Google.com and start typing, if I was to start, let's try it, right? So I'm going to load up Google.com right now. And I'm going to start typing vegan. And what it's showing me is a bunch of searches that people have done. And it actually orders them based on how popular those searches are. So the first thing it's showing me is vegan recipes. Then it says vegan diet, vegan cheese, vegan pancakes, vegan food near me, vegan breakfast, etc. Okay, so this is rudimentary keyword research. It couldn't be easier. All I did was started typing a word, and Google's telling me here are other things that people commonly search when they search for this.
So just based on that, this is the way that I think about it. I would immediately get in my kitchen and start making vegan pancakes. Now, do you think that's a good idea, or do you feel like vegan pancakes, because it is one of the first options or suggestions, that is such a crowded space that I shouldn't even try to make vegan pancakes and try to rank for that in Google?
Yes. So a part of this will depend on how strong you think you are as a content creator and how strong you think your website is compared to other people in the space. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about that second one, how strong you think your website is. Will Google like my website? Because ultimately, if you can do the first one right, be the best content creator out there, then Google will, in time, respect your website and send you traffic. So the answer to that for me is you Google the thing that you're thinking about creating. So now we've decided, Google, all right, we were going to do a chocolate recipe, but vegan pancakes sounds really interesting. And it's saying that there's tons of traffic for this, right? So we're going to Google vegan pancakes. Okay, and we're going to look at the results. What we see is 5-minute vegan pancake recipe. All recipes vegan pancake recipe, light and fluffy vegan pancakes, how to make easy vegan pancakes without eggs and milk, and whole grain vegan pancakes. Okay, so those are the top 5 results, okay? And that's what I would tell you to do. Look at the top 5 results, because most of the traffic will go there. In fact, around about 20% of the traffic for that keyword search will go to the first result.
Yes.
And each one down will get about half as much traffic as you go down that page. So those top 5 are really where you really have to be if you want to get a good amount of traffic. But I described each of those titles for each of the pieces, right? And did you notice how each one was slightly different?
Yes.
They each had something going for it, didn't it?
Yes.
One was 5-minute, sounded nice and easy. One was light and fluffy. One was how to make easy ones without eggs and milk, specific about not being with eggs and milk. The other one was whole grain. They've all got something going on, right? And the question that you would then have for yourself is, it's like any marketing question really, is how am I different?
Yep.
How's my content different? How's it going to stand out here? And can I make something that really does stand out, that nobody else has done here, but that I know that people who are looking for vegan pancakes are really going to love, really going to go for.
So would you say that words like easy, 5-minute, those kinds of things are part of your keywords? Like when you're coming up with what your vegan pancake recipe will be, that you should really be thinking about that even the word easy can be beneficial.
Yeah. So I would differentiate them from keywords because they likely won't have a ton of search intent. People might be searching for easy vegan pancake recipes. And if you believe that to be the case, then great. Easy is then one of your keywords. You're deliberately going to try and rank for easy vegan pancake recipes. Okay, fair enough. But if that's not the case, and you really are just going for vegan pancake recipes, then the easy part, or the whole grain part, is more about positioning. It's more about saying, this is what I think people will be excited to click on when they see this list of recipes.
Got it.
And we often see that with things like the ultimate guide to.
Yes, best, top,
exactly.
Those kinds of things. I never know whether I should be using those words in my titles.
Well, the answer to that is that, so I'm going to kind of now explain how Google decides where to rank your piece of content. Okay? So let's say we've actually finished our recipe. We've typed it up on the blog. Okay, and we've done the very basics of SEO, which I can't neglect. Okay, so I'm going to say them now, and they are: you use the keywords in the title of the post.
Okay,
that's essential. If you don't do that, you won't rank.
Okay,
it's as simple as that. And then the second one is you use your keywords throughout your post.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Now here's one question, which is, it used to be that you would want to repeat the exact keywords 5 times in the post. And then I've read that Google's smarter than that, and that ultimately you can mix it up a little bit. So let's say it's easy vegan pancakes, that you might say, these vegan pancakes are the easiest, or you don't have to say easy vegan pancakes 5 times in your post.
Yeah. So I would say that yes, the truth now is that Google is very smart at telling what your post is about. So the most important thing that you can do is to actually write a post that is about that thing. Okay. So if your post really is a recipe for easy vegan pancakes, then it will be very difficult for you to write that recipe for easy vegan pancakes without the word easy, vegan, and pancakes.
Right.
So you don't have to worry too much about using your keywords. When you've finished your post, you might just want to check over it and make sure that you are using those words.
Got it.
But it should be very organic, and the biggest thing that Google's looking for is that, yes, the words are there, but that's ultimately not what's most important. What's going to be much more important is how people respond to your post, and I'm going to kind of get into that in a minute. But yeah, so you've used those keywords, and I just boil it down to call a spade a spade. It's as simple as that. Just write your post. It's about what it's about. Just write it, and when you're finished, just look over it and just say, is it clear that this is what this is about? Am I using the words? I am? Okay, well, that's good enough.
Right.
Don't worry about any, formulas for how many times you should use this word and that word, and, getting the exact phrase match and things like that. Don't worry too much about that. That's not what's going to really determine whether or not your recipe ultimately, or your piece of content, it ranks. What's going to decide it ultimately is how people respond to it. And this is how Google has really changed in the last few years. Now, what they'll do when you launch a piece of content is they will shuffle it around in the rankings. Okay, so they'll sort of show it briefly on the first page, and they'll see how people respond to it when they click through it. And here's what they're looking for. The 2 basic things that they're looking for is the click-through rate. Okay. So when your post is in a search result, do people click on it? Do they think it's a good answer? That it sounds like a good answer? Which is a big part of why we spent that time thinking about what's the best position for our piece of content in amongst these other pieces of content that we know already do well. Now, if you don't have that, if yours is the 5th easy vegan pancake recipe in the list of easy vegan pancake recipes, then you're not going to have anything compelling enough to kind of shoot you up the list. You're just going to be another one of all of those. But now let's think about that same list of 5 easy vegan recipes. What if one of them was a 1-minute vegan recipe? Okay, well that's different. That's really easy. Or what if one of them was a waffle pancake? It's an easy waffle pancake recipe. Or how are you differentiating? How are you going to be the one that they click on? Because what Google does is it knows the average click-through rate of all the different positions, and let's say it's put you on at position 2, but it's observing that you're getting more clicks than the guy who's in position 1. Well, you need to be in position 1, and so it moves you to position 1.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
so it is constantly testing out your content.
That's right. It's constantly shuffling its search results to see if there's a better result, to basically order them in the order of how well people respond. The second part of this that I definitely want to talk about, as it relates to exactly what I'm kind of talking about right now, how people interact with your content, right? So one of them is click-through rate. Okay, so that's whether they click on your content when they see it in a search result. But the other one is dwell time.
Ooh.
So Google know when somebody clicks through to your content, okay, they know when they click back out to the search result, okay? Because they obviously own their own property, so they can see if someone comes over to your recipe and then comes back and then goes and looks at a different recipe,
right, and
then stays there for longer, okay,
right.
Well, that's a good sign that other recipe actually was the better answer for them, okay?
Right.
So the the sort of flip side to that is if they click over to your piece of content and they spend a long time there, okay, before either coming back or coming back and doing a different search, then that suggests that your content was really good.
Yes. The
other thing that Google knows is how long people spend on your content. How do they take a long time reading it? And that's also a big one. And if people spend twice as long reading your content as the other results on the page, then Google will favor your content, and you'll find it rising up in the rankings. Now, one thing that we do to help with that is videos. So if you have videos on the page, that tends to increase the amount of time people spend on your content. But also just creating really definitive answers, really great pieces of content. And also pieces of content that have related pieces of content that you can then kind of go on and keep kind of exploring on your website. That also.
And I was just reading an article about this, that I forgot the term, but it's this idea that if you are answering, let's say, the vegan pancake question, and you have this great vegan pancake recipe, but then let's say you had done a vegan crepe recipe, that within your vegan pancake recipe, maybe at the bottom, you say, hey, if you liked this easy vegan pancake recipe, check out my vegan crepe recipe. And that the idea is that to continue to answer the question, or to continue to pique the interest of the reader with more relevant content.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea, both in terms of recycling traffic that you already have. So you've gotten traffic, and now you're going to get additional page views from that traffic and build additional loyalty from that person. Perhaps they'll pin, that other recipe as well. But also in terms of that's a person who's not going back to Google. They're staying on your website. So it's a sign to Google that this is a good website.
Right.
People like it there.
And isn't the word authority, that Google sees you having authority in that area?
Yeah. So yeah, originally there were okay, so there's a stool you might think of. Originally it had one leg, and it wasn't very stable. And that leg was relevance. And Google would look at your website and it would say, what does this website tell us it is? And we'll rank it accordingly. Okay, but obviously that's open to spam. Anybody can say anything is anything, and it's not really that. So they made another leg, and it's authority. And authority is, what do other websites say about my website? So who is linking to me, and what do they know? So if I'm a vegan blogger and a dozen other vegan bloggers link to my recipes, then that tells Google that I'm respected within the world of vegan bloggers. And that's important still today, the authority of your website. And you'll discover that Google respects you for certain topics. If you are a vegan food blogger, and then you try to write about a lesson plan for mathematics course, you'll find that you'll struggle a lot more to rank for that, because Google looks at your website and says, well, what do you know about mathematics? And it doesn't respect you yet for that until you've got authority there. So authority is an important part of it as well. The challenge with authority is that it's very difficult to sort of fake or get a leg up beyond because it's based on links, and links are difficult to get. So often the best way ultimately to get links is to be notable and to do great work. Because once you've got that pancake recipe, that vegan pancake recipe, up there in the top 5 vegan pancake recipes on Google, you're going to be getting thousands of people looking at it, and they're going to be searching, they're going to be sharing it on social. They may be linking to it from their own blogs when they start write about other recipes. And what we find over time is that the stuff that ranks attracts links. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and so a rising tide lifts all boats, and your blog suddenly becomes respectable by Google, and you find everything starts ranking.
Now here's a question. So I talk to a lot of bloggers, and one strategy bloggers are using is coming together, working within their niche, befriending their competitors, that kind of thing, and then doing this thing where they are sharing links. So let's say you and I are both vegan recipe developers, bloggers, and I have a pancake recipe and you've got the chocolate cake recipe, and let's say I do that somehow I can say, well, you can turn my pancakes into chocolate pancakes, and in fact you might even want to check out this chocolate vegan recipe on this other site, on your site, and I put a link to it. And then you put a link to my site on your blog. Do you think that is a good strategy, especially if I know that your link is high quality? I like your recipes, you like my recipes. Should we start working together?
Yes, that's sort of the very best way to go about it. That's very organic. That's two people who know each other, who respect each other's content, sharing their audience with each other. That's exactly what Google is looking for when it looks for authority. It wants to know that you have relationships with other bloggers, and that you respect this specific recipe of theirs and enough to send your readers over there.
Right.
So that is absolutely a great way to build authority.
Right. So as a blogger, you can be very intentional if you have a group of friends who are doing what you're doing, that you guys can work together to help each other with search.
Yeah. Yes, you can absolutely. You can even get to the level of sophistication where you're looking at, you're aware of all the things you would like to rank for. And you're aware of where you rank for all various different things, and you are reaching out to your friends to say, hey, I have this great vegan pancake recipe that it's stuck at number 11 at the moment, right? I just need a couple of links, and I think it'll be in the top 5, and from there it's the best, so it'll rise up, like a good cake, and so you can even get that deliberate, where you're cherry picking the things that you want people to link to, and kind of using those relationships in that way.
So would you then, let's say we have a post that I think is terrific. So on our site, for example, we have unicorn Easter bunny printables. They're super cute, original, and I want to rank for them. So I would go into Google and I would search for, let's say, Easter bunny unicorn printable, see where I organically am coming up. Is that how you would do the first bit of research? Is just like search for it and see,
The
am I on
first
the
thing,
third page or
the
first
very first
page?
thing is go incognito before you search for it.
Okay.
Google is aware of your search history, and it
Okay.
knows, Jillian, that you really like the Catch My Party website. You go there
Yes.
a lot.
Yes. Yes.
So it's going to say, oh, well, Catch My Party has a piece about this, so Jillian's going to like that, so I'll show her that one first.
Ah, that's
So
good. Yeah.
yeah, so you want to go incognito to get a more realistic view of what other people will see.
Okay, and so let's just go back for a second. An incognito window is a window that has no cookies, no history. Google does not know who I am if I open one. And if you don't know how to open an incognito window, Google it with your what is it?
Browser.
Your browser. Thank you. So
Yeah.
I use Chrome, so I know how to open an incognito window in Chrome. If you use Safari, so just Google it. It's very easy to figure out.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. But you're right. Yeah. So search for the thing that you're interested in ranking for. Look at where you currently rank, and look at the competition. Ideally, you've done all that before you even wrote the piece of content, because you were aware that there's a bunch of pieces of content out there that are about that are about one aspect of this, but they all neglect this important aspect that you can
Right.
put in your post and
Right.
therefore make it more appealing in those search results.
Right. So we've got Easter Bunny, but then we add the unicorn to it.
Right.
And
There you
all
go.
of a sudden, wow. Okay.
Yes, it's the little element of magic.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And then then I see this post, and let's say, and I'm going to, after we get off the call, I'm going to go look. But let's say it's on page 3.
Right.
And I would like to get it up to page 1. And so then I would reach out to some of my friends and say, hey, I've got this post. Do you think you could add a link to your blog somewhere? And I will then add a link to whatever you want on my blog. And I'll find a relevant piece of content, and I will then add it organically within the post someplace else on my blog.
Yeah, and one way that people, so a challenge there that you'll come across is, well, where will they link to this from that will make sense for people? And if you want to try to broker that kind of relationship, it often pays to have figured that out for them. So I noticed that you wrote about a unicorn party recently, and I have this cool thing about Easter and unicorns, and so I think this would be a great piece of content for you to link to. Whereas if you approach your chartered accountant blogger who has a finance blog,
Yes.
they're going to be like, well, I mean, that sounds great, but I really don't understand how I can make that happen for you. And then the ultimate answer to how to make that happen for yourself is guest blogging,
Yes.
which a lot of people use, where essentially you say, I'd like to come onto your blog to write a post for your blog. And there's kind of usually an understanding there that in that post there will be a couple of links to your content.
Yes.
And it will be a post that will in some ways explain to their audience who you are and what you do. So if you were to approach your finance blogger friend with a post about how to throw cheap parties that are won't break the bank of any family, that might make sense to them. And in that post, you can mention your really affordable Easter party, since that's coming up, and you can mention maybe a couple of other things that need a little bit of link love. Yeah, so that's another
As a
good
strategy, though, is it more powerful for those links to show up on, say, another party blogger's blog or my accountant's blog? Does that matter?
Yeah, definitely a party blogger's blog, if possible.
Okay.
And really the reason behind that being that Google is aware of what your friend's blog is about,
Got
and so it will send more authority to you for party-related topics
Got it.
it's a link from a party-related website.
Got it.
Yeah, but however, all links are good. And another thing you should know about them is that there are diminishing returns for links from the same domain. So what does that mean? What that means is if you had the option of getting 100 links from one domain, from one of your friends' blogs, or 100 links from 10 different friends' blogs, you should definitely go for the 10 different friends. Because each time Google says, well, clearly, I already know that this website likes you.
Right. Right.
So, I care less about this second and third and fourth and fifth link than I did about the previous ones.
Right. Right. Now, here's a question. Does it help? Let's say I link to your blog. Does that help me at all? Or let's say that I'm just I happen to link to your blog and it's not quid pro quo. But does that at all affect me? Or am I only sharing the love with you?
Yeah, you're sharing your traffic as well, and you should be aware of that. A certain number of people will click through that link, and may never come back. But other than that, it doesn't affect you to the detriment at all. Unless of course you're helping your competitors to outrank you for things you're trying to rank for. So, for example, a very bad strategy is to Google the thing you want to rank, read the top 5 articles and be like, well, these are all brilliant. I'm going to link to all of them.
Right.
And then send lots of authority to all the things you're trying to beat. That's probably not a smart way to go about it. But in general, there's no real downside to linking to somebody else. And I want to just mention one more way to kind of grow authority.
Okay.
That is in many ways the most powerful and the best. And that is to create unique pieces of content that are uniquely useful to people, so much so that they can't help but reference them. So, for example, we created a piece of content. We noticed that there wasn't really a good answer out there for how often to post to Instagram. So I used our member data to answer that question, and we discovered that you get more likes, you get more followers, etc. The more often you post, and the best, and you need to post at least once a day to Instagram to really grow effectively. Okay. So we had all this great data. It's a great post. And so it started to rank well. And then because everybody would Google that, and then they'd be looking for statistics about it, and they'd be looking for hard evidence, and there wasn't really hardly any. And ours was the best piece for that. We started to get a lot of links. And for that one piece of content on the Tailwind blog, I've never reached out to anybody to get them to link to it, but we have links from Buffer and from Entrepreneur.com and from Hootsuite, from Inc.com, and we have all these great links just because it's the piece of content that lots of people need to reference for other pieces of content they're writing.
Right. So if you can answer a question that nobody else can answer or nobody's thinking to answer, that is a sweet spot to be.
Yeah, or just answer it in a better way. Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a question that requires data. It could be all sorts of different things. But yes, that is a very solid way to build authority.
I love that. So could we talk about tools? Could we just circle back to Yoast, for example, which is something that many bloggers use, and it's Yoast.
Right. Yes. So WordPress is built today in such a way that that your website will be search friendly, and your title. So there were in the old days, this was not necessarily assured that the title of your blog post would be your URL and your H1 and your all of this technical stuff, right? But today it more or less is assured. And Yoast will kind of give you a little bit more control and a little bit more assurance that is taken care of for you on your WordPress blog. So we use it, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility as well. There are some different things you can do. But it's not the answer to how you do great SEO. The answer to how you do great SEO and rank well is that you're writing about the things people are interested in.
Yes.
You're the best piece of content out there, so Google can't help but rank you at the top because it wants to send people to the best. And those are really the two main things.
So it's like Yoast are like guardrails, but the real thinking is before you even write the post.
Exactly.
Like Yoast will keep you within the parameters of like, yes, all the keywords are there.
Yep.
But it's really you being that person stepping back and saying, what are people searching for? What kinds of content should I be creating? And this is, I think, a really good thing to highlight, which is if you are a vegan food blogger, yes, you should be blogging about those things that are really interesting to you. Whatever you're in, you love chia seeds. And so you're going to blog about that. But also to step back and go, okay, but I have a community of people. What are they interested in? So it's this combination between what I'm interested in and what they're interested in.
Exactly. Yes.
Because otherwise you're just blogging in a vacuum.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And ultimately, kind of where we are now is that SEO is informing our strategy in a big way.
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is that we have a very good understanding of all of the things that people are looking for in our space.
Okay.
And we often write to fit those needs. We also sometimes write because we think people should know about this, or this new thing happened. It's not all about the search traffic, but the search traffic tells you what people are interested in. So, I mean, you would be crazy not to pay attention to that.
So what tools, I know that there are some expensive tools. One is SEMrush, which has been recommended to me by you and others, but that is a really expensive tool. I think it's like $99 a month.
Right.
But are there cheaper ways to get at, to 80/20 this, to get at some, like the stuff that's really going to help you?
Yeah, so I mentioned Google Auto Suggest, and of course Pinterest also has an Auto Suggest tool where you start typing keywords in, and it will suggest other keywords that are related. So those two are very simple and free. Google Keyword Planner is another tool which is essentially free, although you need to have an active campaign, an active Google AdWords campaign, which basically means creating one and pausing it. You're actually using the AdWords, the Keyword Planner tool, which is not. It used to be free, and that's not great. But there it is. It's a bit of a bear, that tool. But essentially, what you do is you type in a keyword, and Google will say, here are a bunch of keywords that we think are similar to this keyword, and how much traffic they get every month.
Right.
So it's best, in my opinion, for when you know what your idea is, but you're not quite sure which way to go with it. So I know that this is a vegan pancake. This is a vegan pancake recipe.
Right.
But should I go for vegan waffles recipe or vegan pancake recipe? Because I think both are good, and really this could be either. Which has more traffic? And Google Keyword Planner will tell you, well, the pancake recipe one has 1,000 searches a month, and the waffles have 50 searches a month. So you should do the pancakes.
Got it.
Yeah. So
even though that will be probably more competitive.
Yes, that's right. So would it? And that's a decision for you to make. Maybe you look at the waffles and nobody's written about that, and you're sure you could be number one.
Right.
And you get a little bit of traffic. That's kind of a choice for you.
Oh, wow. Well, I love that you've been able to get in the mind of Google because, again, I think that SEO as a blogger can feel scary.
Yeah.
And here's a question, which is you hear about the algorithms are changing, and has it stayed consistent in terms of how to think about creating content, or is it ever changing, kind of like the Facebook algorithm or those kinds of things? Like,
No,
given that
it's
you've had experience for a
mhm,
while now in SEO, what would you say?
yeah. Yeah, so after 10 years of this, there was a time when things were very different. Um, and I mentioned that stool, and I was building that stool, and we've got two legs, and the third leg is what I was telling you about how people engage with your content, the
Okay.
click-through rate and the dwell time. That's a new leg to the stool that happened, probably 4 years ago now. Um, but since then, it hasn't really fundamentally changed.
Mm,
Now it's a stool. It's sturdy. They don't really
mm-hmm.
need to change it. Um,
Interesting.
so today, because they've managed to dial right in on. What's the best piece of content? What piece of content are people responding to best? That's pretty robust.
Right.
They don't really need to change that.
Right.
And that makes it really simple. I actually think that it's a wonderful time to do SEO. Not if you're a technical kind of nerdy, like trying to hack the system kind of guy, but if you're I want to create something really valuable for people, and I
Mm,
want to do great content, it's a great time because you know that if you can create something really unique and wonderful that people are going to respond to, um, that if you can get it onto that first page, Google will take care of the rest and kind of figure it out and push it up for you. Yeah, so
I have
today,
one, oh, sorry.
great content.
I have one last question, which
Please.
is, how quickly do things change? I post my vegan pancake recipe.
Hmm.
Like, how quickly would it start to rank?
Hmm.
And how long, let's say I ultimately get it into that number one spot, how long will it stay there?
It's a great question. Yeah, so how quickly Google will become aware of your piece of content um, kind of depends on how high profile it is. So if you have a high profile website, Google may come and look at it every day. Most blogs probably every 3 days.
Okay.
So let's say you post something, you don't do anything specific to alert Google to that. Within 3 days, there's a good chance that your new piece of content will be in Google's index. And then how long will it stay ranking highly? If you manage to get it ranking highly, well, that really it's Darwinian.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how evergreen, how relevant it stays, and it depends on whether other things come out that are better than it. If these things happen, then you'll find your content slipping down the search rankings. But the opposite to that is generally what I find to be the case, which is when you are investing in your content in a meaningful and consistent way. What happens is that rising tide lifts all boats, where you've got hundreds of pieces of content that are ranking in search engines across the board. Each of them is occasionally getting a new link, which means a new link to your blog. So Google's saying, "Oh, this website's kind of more important than it was before," and all of your content is sort of rising up the rankings. That's sort of the ideal situation. But once something is ranking well, assuming that nothing else jumps in that is far better than it, it can rank for years.
Wow.
And that's really the long-term power of Google, is the accumulated traffic that you get by adding another piece of content that every month is going to send 1,000 people to you, and another piece, and pretty soon you're looking at tens, hundreds of thousands of people every month coming to old pieces of content through Google.
Now, what
Uh,
I have one, I keep saying this is the last question, but this is mine, which is, what about, okay, so we have been at this for a long time. We have a lot of old content.
yeah.
Should we be going back and let's say, it's almost Easter, should we be going back to our old Easter posts and refreshing them and reposting them or doing something to them to hopefully get them to rank higher? Or maybe it's like a lost piece of content somewhere. What is your thought about that?
Yeah, it's possible. It's not something that I've done a lot of. I'm just personally more orientated towards creating something new. Um, but especially in a situation like yours where you have a big back catalog, it depends on, I think it depends on how much low-hanging fruit there is. If
Okay.
you think you have a big back catalog of stuff that is not using keywords, for example, then there's probably a huge benefit to go back and kind of sort of work on them. But if for a long time you've been aware of SEO and you've been using keywords to the best of your ability, then going back to visit those posts probably isn't going to have a lot of a lot of advantage to it. One thing that you could do is Google has a tool called Google Webmaster Tools,
Yeah.
which you can set up. You can Google how to set that up, but it has a dashboard that tells you all of the things that you rank for in Google, where you rank for them, and how many clicks you've gotten from them. So it's very useful. So one thing you could do with that is you can use that to say, okay, export all of that, and then in a spreadsheet, I'm going to see everything that I rank on the second page for.
Right.
And those might be low-hanging fruit for getting links to them, or maybe tightening up the SEO. Like maybe you really didn't use one of the keywords, but not the other one. And really, if you used both, you think maybe you could jump onto that first page.
Right.
So identifying the low-hanging fruit is really the key if you're going to start looking at your back catalog, because you don't want to you could drown in all of that content. It could take forever.
Right. And if you are on page 50 of something, to get it to page 49 is not going to help you that much. Whereas
Right.
if you could get your content from page 2 or page 3 up to page 1, the benefits are exponential.
Yes, thank you for spelling that out. That's exactly right, Jillian. Yeah.
Okay, well, that is super helpful. Well, David, I have to say, this has been so enlightening.
Oh,
I
thank
have
you.
learned so much. I thought I knew a lot, but just you spelling it out in such an easy to understand way has I have so many ideas right now in my head.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Well, I couldn't have gone better then.
So I hope to have you back on the podcast so
Yeah.
that we can do a part 2 and
All
even
right.
dig a little deeper.
I don't really know anything else, unfortunately, but I'll try. I'll have to learn something in the meantime.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Jillian. I look forward to a follow-up.
If you're seriously trying to grow your followers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and also grow your email list, definitely check out MiloTree. It's a pop-up you embed on your blog. It pops up and asks your visitors to follow you on social media or subscribe to your list, and it really works. It's easy to install. We offer a WordPress plugin or just add a simple line of code. It's Google friendly on mobile, so you don't have to worry about showing pop-ups on mobile. It is lightning fast and will not slow your site down. And if you act now, you can try it out for 30 days free.